All right. Guys, we have a special episode of Mindset You today because not only is it episode 100, yes, we actually made it to 100 fucking episodes. We have a very special one today because we have some significant others. It is not my intervention. We are talking about relationships, and it's going to be a good time. Last week, we talked about a couple who had an issue where they wound up breaking up because the lady was making more than the guy in the relationship, and we all thought it was a pussy move, just for layman's terms. And I want to know how you ladies feel about that. Do you feel like is it important for the guy to make the money in the relationship to be the quote unquote provider, or is it a team effort?
I'm gonna say, obviously, make more. Make more. You have to provide for your family. No, I'm kidding. Providing for your family looks different to different people. And I heard the episode and I said to Rancis, I mean, there's something missing here because you guys talked a lot about the guy being a pussy. But I'm like, there's also a lot of women who have the belief that if you're not like if I can make more than you, what are you here for? Like what do you provide for me? There's also that aspect of a man feeling emasculated, but women actually feeling like, hey, you can't take care of me if you don't make more than me. So that's the point of view that I wanted to talk about because it's out there. I have girlfriends who are like, well, what does he bring to the relationship if he can't take care of me financially? And
Who cares
it's
about
an
love?
interesting, yeah, it's like, it's an interesting point of view of like, if I could do it for myself, what are you doing for me? Right.
Yeah.
And that's I don't share in that point of view, but I think it gets confused oftentimes with like the forward movement of men in general. It's my point of view that like you wouldn't have a nice car if it wasn't to impress a girl. Like you wouldn't strive for things like, and in Moses' words, he's like, I don't need a nightstand. I have a box, right? And like that idea of like, I don't need all this fancy stuff. And it's like, girls are like, I want that. I want the X and the Y and the Z. And thus, like, we push for, I don't want to say it's for men to become better, but it's like, there's sort of like something you do have to provide a level of comfort and security for women, and thus there is something there, but it's how do we get there? If like, oh, it's not that, hey, I'm making more than you, now you have to step up, but much more like what are you striving for? Like having those conversations of what are you striving for? What is your goal? And having goals together is the part where I think a lot of people miss the boat of just because you're not doing it now doesn't mean you don't have those aspirations. And thus we should talk about those things. Because you don't want to be advancing yourself and then sitting with someone who doesn't want to improve themselves in any kind of way.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. It's definitely a partnership, both hands down, and having those common goals it's an overarching goal, and it doesn't necessarily have to look the same or translated to money or whatever specifically that it means to each person. But if you're aligned in the relationship, then you're contributing in your own way. And that has to be recognized by the other person. Yeah.
All right. They're so educated and so smart. This is so much different than our podcast.
I'll throw in a joke here and there.
Nobody's doing a boat metaphor yet. This is great.
What kind of metaphor?
A boat metaphor. Your husband loves
Francis likes to talk about boats and directions.
I would know that if I watched the podcast, right?
Well, we know she's not one of the 9.
It's 11. It's 11.
Oh, sorry. So she's not one of the 11.
Well, he opens it from my phone, so I may be.
He opens it from his phone and then Paola's phone just to get two numbers.
Get the views, man. Get the views.
Get the views.
All right, so I guess my follow-up question to that, which I mean that makes so much sense to me. I'm pretty aligned with the way you wonderful ladies think about how it goes in relationships, where you have to have that conversation, your dialogue for goals. But I think over time, I think the quote unquote traditional gender roles have changed in relationships, where it's like the man does this, the woman does that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any traditional views that you still have in a relationship that you look for in your partner?
I definitely do.
Yes.
And that's a protector role. I was like, you have to be able to protect me. Like if someone's coming at me, I'm going to look at you to go kick its ass, Seabass,
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And also to take out the garbage.
Yeah.
Those are two things I'm good at. Like that's the only things I'm good at. It's make her laugh, take out the trash, and fight. That's literally what I bring to the table.
Clean the fish tank. I'm not touching that. No.
Clean the bathroom.
No, but there is that protector role of like, I need to feel safe. And if I don't feel safe, and that means like that safety is not just being able to protect you outside, but safety like within our relationship as well. Of I can mouth off, but I'm not going to get punched in the face, It's true though. It's part of like, hey, you need to protect, not like even from myself. There's times that, and I don't know if that's an antiquated view. I'm like, I know I can mouth off and be unreasonable. Like I know it. Gotta call me out. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it going, and that's not it. Is that an antiquated view? What do you think?
I think it's all about the perspective, right? Like, because actually, I have a question for you. So, if I get into an accident where I lose control of my body and I'm unable to protect you, then what does that mean?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Be able to fucking roll over somebody's foot with that wheelchair, motherfucker. That's what that means.
I mean, that's a real scenario, but the relationship changes, and I think it'd be dumb to think that it wouldn't. Like the relationship changes. If I then have to take that on, and people would, and I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. It's like that changes everything. If you are not able to do what you can do, like there's, and it's not that we can't live, like get through it, but we're not going to have the same relationship. It's just, it's not it. It changes. Can it be dealt with? Absolutely. But it changes the relationship because you're asking me to take on a lot more, something that I don't want to take on. If I have to deal with my own car and putting gas in my car and making sure the wheels aren't bald, like, and that's something, guys, I know how to change a tire. I know how to do these things. I don't want to do it. I have zero desire to take care of those things. And thus we have an agreement that is like, you want, like, here, take it. I don't want it. I'm very traditional in that way. So things will change for sure. And it might just not be, I'm not saying, oh, we're going to break up, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
No, he was offended and left.
You hurt his feelings. You ordered cheese again. God damn it.
Shit. Fucked up.
No. I think that's a very fair and honest answer, because I think a lot of people don't think about how life events could change a relationship, where it comes to now you have to be the quote unquote protector and caretaker for somebody in a situation like that, where it's like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And it does change the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people put on a good front where they're like, no, I do this and that until they have to actually do all those things. And it's a lot easier said than done.
I think
I mean,
resentments
my thing
will
is that,
create for sure. Like you're gonna resent the person, not like that it was their choice, but you're gonna
yeah,
resent somebody
yeah,
because you've taken on so much more, and
yeah,
just natural human behavior at that point.
yeah. No, it makes sense. You know how they say like ladies look for like isn't it something like where they're like a lot of ladies look for like their father's traits in their partner or something like that? Or like, and they say like guys look for like their mother's traits sometimes. I realized in my relationship, I look for my father's traits in my significant other, in the sense of I'm not handy at all. Thank God Ashley is handy and knows what to do with a power tool. Anything that you see put up in this house, those shelves behind me, Ashley. I pick things up, I hold things in place, and then I go, Can I go to the other room now? Like that's it. And thank God she didn't need like a handy person in her life, because I can lift things up and I could put them down, and that's as far as I'm going. So I get you when it comes to changing a tire thing, where it's just like, I'm just not that guy.
Jay, do you know how to change a tire?
No, God no.
Holy shit.
God no. My father doesn't either. Nobody in the Reno family knows how to fucking change a tire though. I don't care what anybody says. We're not exactly car people.
I want
It gets
to
you from
know
point A to point B.
I want to know what that look between Moses and Marina was before when Jake brought that up.
Let's.
Oh, the look before? There's something that was playing on my background. We looked at each other. We were like, "What the hell's going on?" There was like a YouTube video that played by itself. But
Porn.
I think no, it wasn't porn.
Simone.
I think Marina and I are still trying to figure out like these more traditional kind of roles in our relationship, where we've kind of been arguing about cooking and cleaning more specifically. So you want to tell them about that, babe?
Sure. Maybe some background for myself is that I've grown up in a very, very old school kind of way, where it was like a very male dominated type of household, where the man is the provider, is the main source of income, and the woman is the caretaker of the household. So me growing up, that was maybe not intentionally put on me, but indirectly you're gonna see these unfold before you and try to fall into the same belief. And it got to the point where I was like, hold on a second, I don't have to. So that kind of forced me into the belief of, all right, well, I want to do this shit myself. To the point where I purposefully learned how to change a tire so I could do it myself and I don't have to rely on anybody. And, to just rely on myself. So coming to the household now that we're embarking on this new chapter between Mo and I, the house comes with its own chores. And traditionally, I've been fighting the belief of that, okay, well, the cleaning and the cooking falls on me. And that sparked, the discussion between us to see, okay, well, how can we evenly divvy up or fairly contribute to the house and what that means on a daily basis. And that comes with different views too, because we don't necessarily see it the same way or have the same cadence or expectations. So that's been a little bit of a challenge that we're still currently working through.
I guess my follow-up question is, name one of the challenges.
So cooking has been like the big thing
Okay.
for us. So just some more context behind that is Marina comes from a family that has both parents that have been married for 40 plus years. They've been together. They eat dinner at the table, that kind of like nuclear kind of family. I came from the opposite end of the spectrum, which is a single mother. Mom worked full time, came at 6 o'clock, 7 p.m. and brought Wendy's home. So for me, coming home after a long day of work and cooking is not something that I want to do. So sometimes there are these expectations that I believe get placed on me to cook on days. And I'm not opposed to doing that. It's just
we're rehashing it right now.
Yeah. It's just there's I don't want the expectation placed on me. Like, I don't want it to be like a thing that has to get done, especially if after a long day where I don't know how my day looks like or what emotional state I'm going to be at the end of the day. So that's like one example.
But you have to eat every day.
Yeah, I'm okay with fasting, and I'm okay with.
I'm not. I gotta eat.
And that's where we differ. Yeah. So like my thing is just like I don't want to be responsible for cooking. Like I don't want to. Like I'm okay with breathing air and going to sleep
Drinking
hungry
water.
or ordering meals. Like I'm okay with that. And Marina has a different view.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, like below, comment, let us know your thoughts, and continue to enjoy.
No, I think that's something that's really interesting to work through. I know with Ash and Ash is a former chef, so when I'm in the kitchen, it's having like I get PTSD because I get flashbacks to my mom just like standing over me. She's like, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" I'm like, "Why aren't you just cooking it then? Why are you gonna sit here and critique me and make me hate this whole process all over again?" And then so like we've learned that like when it's time for me to cook something, it's mostly for myself because like she doesn't like ground turkey. All I eat is pretty much ground turkey when I'm cooking for myself because it's the easiest thing to fucking make in the world. That she just leaves me alone in the kitchen and vice versa. Although I'm becoming her sous chef, so like I cut up all the vegetables and stuff. I do all that. I do all that work. But it's a lot of me going, "Is this okay? Is this your liking?" And even when it comes to like folding her clothes, like she likes her stuff. She is such a particular person with the way things are. It's familiar.
Yeah.
Familiar.
That's why I'm laughing.
She's shown me how to fold her shirts the way that she likes to fold her shirts. I do them, and then she'll do them again. And it does. And at first, it fucking drove me crazy. It drove me fucking insane in the beginning because I was like, "Why am I even doing this? If you're just gonna fucking do it, we're just doubling the work, and this is borderline insulting at this point."
I'm offended. I'm offended for you.
We
now
we literally yesterday we just had a bit of a back and forth about clothing.
Yeah, and now it's just gotten to the point that I'm like, "Oh, that's just how my baby is." I don't even think about it. I just fold it and just put it there. I'm like, she might fold it again, she might not. I don't care. I'm gonna smoke weed and forget about this.
You still fold it, man? Just leave it laying flat. She could fold it herself.
I leave it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's scary. You gotta see like the real nice side of her. She's like, "Oh, hi guys," and then with me, she's like, "Do this shit now." Like, all right.
Marina, are you the difficult one in the folding?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Because, okay, well, if we want to dive a little bit more into clothing, okay, I'm particular of at least laying out the clothes immediately as soon as they come out of the dryer because they get wrinkled.
There's an iron for that.
That's extra time.
They always wrinkle themselves out throughout the day. Like, you just rock them.
Take advantage.
The day takes care of it.
No, take advantage of the process. You don't need to add extra steps. All right. So that's where we fight right there.
I find it so funny that all of our significant others are all very much alike. Where it's like we got the ones who are super particular about things. That's what I'm saying. We
Rance
got
is
the
so
ones who are super
particular.
particular about things. Rancis, Marina, Ashley. And then we have the ones who are kind of stupid over here. Like, well, whatever. Just go with it. It's
Carefree.
fine.
I think we just like to be very efficient and enjoy our time. I'd rather keep my time to myself than to sit there and fold a piece of or a shirt perfectly so that it can look nice for a few hours.
I also know, as much as I love Mo, I know how difficult it must be to live with Mo. The same way that I know how difficult it is to live with me. I know that it's not easy. Even
It's
today.
all right. It's all right.
Even today, like when I have conversation with Ashley, I'm whatever she's talking about, I agree with it. But there's just something in my head that goes, just say you don't. Just start
Throw that in there.
Just no, I don't.
Just
I
to
don't
keep
agree
things
with
fun.
you. And then watch her her eyes start to flicker again, and she's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." And I'm like, "I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. It's fine. We can do whatever you want." I don't know what it is in me to be that troublemaker, but
That you
I
don't
know
have
I make
siblings,
certain
bro.
things a lot
That's what
harder.
it is.
Yeah.
It's because you don't have siblings. You didn't learn.
Yeah. But you know, it is anybody like a lot of my family members are the same. The other week is my cousin's birthday. Our cousin's new boyfriend came into town for it. Let's put it like this. I was the nice one. Me and my dad were the nice ones. My cousin Alex immediately started calling him by the wrong name on purpose. She knew his name. She called him by the wrong name so much, I thought the wrong name was his name and kept calling him that until he was like, "No, my name's Michael, right?" And I was like, "I had no fucking idea, dude. I thought you were Jeff." So like it's just a Moreno thing that if we can't fuck with you and make things a little hard for you,
You're gonna.
yeah. And if we
You just have to.
disagree with you, and if we disagree with you, we probably don't like you. And it's such a weird thing. Whereas if we fuck with you, we like you. And if we're just like, nah, it means we don't like you. And I find that so weird.
That's
But
so great. What
is
you're
until
saying is like that's the way you show love. Like, hey, the more
but it is
difficult I
until
make your life, the more I love you.
Yeah, the more difficult I am, the more it means I love you. Hence why I'm married now.
Poor Ash.
By the way, she's downstairs. I told her about
She
this.
didn't want to join us.
I told her about this. She was like, "I don't want to talk." I was like, "What do you mean? You talk all the time." She was like, "Not on camera." She was like, "We can do this at dinner." She goes, "But I ain't going to camera with this." And
Sneak
She's
in
like,
a
"I'm gonna
camera
hurt your
at the dinner
feelings."
table.
yeah, so she was like, "No, thanks." I think she's doing stuff downstairs.
I have a question for Marina.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually, this can go to Paola afterwards. But in the relationship between you and Moses, right? You have been in the position of making more. I think you still are in the position of making more financially. But there was a time where, both Mo and I were barely making anything. Everything was going back to the business. So how and what did that mean for you? Did it mean anything? Did you see it anywhere? Did it ever become a challenge for you in terms of your relationship and how you perceive each other?
Well, good question. If I try to remember back then, I don't think it necessarily impacted the perception of each other to us. It's, if anything, there were maybe some conversations that we had that, again, it goes back to understanding where we each are at. And for me, as long as you have that conversation and how you're contributing in each of your ways, then that basically sets you up in that relationship.
Okay, that sounded like a very politically correct answer.
I was waiting for you guys. Marina, welcome to the club. I'm glad I'm not the one who gets called out for being fucking PC about certain things.
Like,
right.
did it ever challenge you in terms of the future of your relationship? Like, this is not a guy that I'm willing to marry if he can't even hold his own weight up.
Were you ever like, this broke bitch, if it wasn't for that fantastic ass on him, I would not be here?
Okay. So
That was a yes.
because like I said before, it goes back to the things that you hold true to your life, your goals. And I always saw Mo as a driven individual who had a certain vision for his life. So for me, I didn't get stuck on any particular moment or any of whatever that we've been through or he's been through, because that only helps you get further in your life. Yeah.
I think there was probably like maybe 2 conversations that were difficult at that stage. And I would take responsibility for that by not necessarily being clear as to what was happening in my life. So of course, when you're not clear and you're not transparent with those things, especially in the beginning of the relationship, then it leaves the other person to question certain things. So then if they don't question it, the only thing they're left with to do is to make assumptions. And then these assumptions can lead to incorrect kind of alignments. So I think that's what happened between us. But I think me being a coach and understanding that I have a lot of responsibility in how our relationship turns out, allowed Marina and I to have these difficult conversations. But then also Marina's ability to lean in and empathize and accept other perspectives is important too. So that we can get aligned and move towards the same kind of goal or vision for whatever our lives wanted to look like at that time. So yeah, there were some difficulties, but again, we were open to the conversation and we were open to hearing each other's perspectives, and we figured it out. And then I got a job.
Did that help?
and that helped, yeah. So.
And everybody went, oh. And everybody's shoulders stopped getting tense for a second. Everyone was like, woo! All right. No, that was sweet. Hold on, real quick. Pardon me. Sorry,
yeah.
Paula.
Go ahead.
That was what you said was very eloquent and beautiful. My follow-up question immediately halfway through it was like, so like, when are you both running for Congress?
I was thinking the same thing.
Stop it with the political.
She cut her hair and now she's a politician. Stop.
Yeah, I've got the Republican couple here. I like this.
The Republican couple.
Running 2025.
Independent.
What's the next year?
Yes, libertarians.
That's right. I will say I've supported Rancis, dream and business for like the idea, the carry out, and Rancis carried us out when I stayed home with Logan. It was through his business that we were able to live. So it's been, as he said in the last podcast, it's been, it's gone back and forth. But we've also had a lot of, I think those conversations don't stop if you do have a job. And that's the part where people forget. Like, you need to be having those conversations constantly as to what your expectations are. And we've had plenty of difficult conversations when it comes to money, because there is, like I said, an expectation of, are you moving with me? Like, are we going in the same direction? Whether, and that doesn't always look like you need to make more than me, but you need to aspire for more for yourself, because I aspire for more for myself. And sometimes that comes in the form of money, of we have these dreams. And if I'm the only one contributing to them, that doesn't feel good. You need to contribute to them, like monetarily. So we've had conversations where it's like, I'm sorry, you cannot reinvest everything back into your business. Like, you have to stop that, because it's not fair to me and it's not fair to our kids that you put it back into the business, no matter how much you believe in it. And those were difficult conversations of like, some of it needs to come back here. And I mean, I don't know if you want to talk to that at all of how those went, because they were had, and there were times that, like I said, if you don't have these conversations, resentments start building up of like, you're only taking care of one side, and money talks are always they're never fun to have, but they're so necessary. And I think Rances and I have a lot of work has gone into being very vulnerable with one another without also taking our vulnerabilities to heart and actually talking through them and exploring them, because sometimes you say something and it's like, is that really how you feel? Let's break it down. So yeah.
Yeah, what I would say about that is that, so similar to what Marina shared in terms of Moses, is that with the perspective is like, there were times where financially it's very tough. There's the dreamer mindset, the vision of the future of what we're building and all of that kind of also bridges a bit of like, it's not like we're sitting around not doing anything, waiting to be taken care of. Is that we're working, we're willing to sacrifice everything. The challenge is that when that sacrifice starts to extend to the rest of the families, to Paola, to the kids, and all of that, that's kind of what I've learned is the line, right? Where it's like, okay, I've said this many times, I'm willing to live under a bridge to make the dream come true, but I'm not willing to take my family there to live there with me. So it's kind of the balance and recognizing when we're crossing that line, because it's a commitment that I've made. It's a perspective that I hold, but it's not fair to bring Paola into that perspective. And that fundamentally is kind of the difference that we found, which is Paola has some certain expectations of how life should be and some luxuries and so on and so forth. Where for me, I'm like, whatever, we can go completely bare, don't need anything, so on and so forth, because again, that dream, vision. So what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
What are you laughing at?
You said we can go completely bare.
You would. Bare minimum. I love you, you were at the sea spot. I was like, that's what got your toe in the first place.
All right.
But yeah, that's the, to me, that's a differentiator, is recognizing, that different impact. And it's like, it's also, that's the cell, right? That's my cell, where it's like, I'm committed beyond anything else. And that I'm going to fight hard and work hard towards my dream, towards our family, towards all these things. And I think that almost like is enough to sustain in those moments where it's like, okay, things aren't going where we would like them to be, but that drive is there. And then when there's a hole in the ship and it's sinking,
there it is.
How to bring it back. If you're not patching it, then it doesn't make any sense. And I can get a little too delusional and be like, no, we'll be fine. So that's where Paula calls me out.
And it's funny, you just brought back, I completely forgot about a time in our lives where, talking about traditional roles, I was like, I did have traditional role expectations of Rances to take care of us. And before I embarked on this journey I'm in now, I was becoming extremely unhappy. Like, just like, I would wake up and I was like, I fucking hate this. Like, I was not happy. And this was after the passing of Arlene, and I had gone through a lot emotionally. And I was like, still like, is it that? And I was just not a happy camper. And I remember one day waking up, and I had told Moses a story in the past of like how I changed. I felt like I made a complete, you know, change in my life. And it was a 180. And it was because I woke up one morning, I was like, I don't have to live like this. It's like, what is the problem? Like, I feel like I'm up to here, that we can never make enough. And I was like, I'm mad at Rancis. Why am I mad at him? Like, if that's the problem, I should just go make more money. And like, I stopped depending, like my mindset stopped depending on the fact that like putting it on him, because that was the expectation. And it was an uncommunicated expectation. I mean, he had up until that point taken care of us, but it was uncommunicated. It was like, I had this expectation that I'm gonna, you know, Moses says that we're the bougie people he knows. I'm like, I'm not bougie. I just have a certain standard. And but it's not a bougie standard. It's the same way that, like, would you ever live without driving? Tell me, would you ever not own a car? Do you see yourself in that way?
Do I want to is a very different choice.
No. Would you ever? Once you started driving, have you not owned a car?
Yeah, there was one time that I did not own a car. It was a terrible experience.
For how long?
For like, I think it was like 3-4 months.
And then you got a hoopty and you freaking made it work, right?
Yeah, I love the hoopty. Yeah, it was awesome.
But that's what I'm saying. Like once you set a standard for yourself, then you're going to figure out how to get to that standard, like that bare minimum. So I've just raised those minimums in my life. So that's the part of like, we need to be striving for something. But I remember that shift in my mindset of like, I did have traditional roles. I was like, why isn't like Rancis, what the fuck, you know? And I was like, oh, I don't have to wait for him. I could just go do what I want to do. And he supports me. And then I'm like, oh, that means that I have to do the same. I have to support him because he supported me through anything. I'm like, I'm going to go sell Mary Kay, did not sell $1. I just used all the products. Just bought a bunch of makeup. I'm going to go do this. Francis is like, you want to do that? Tell me your plan. I was like, yeah, run with it. Whatever I've wanted to do ever, it's always been like nothing but support. Yeah. So like, I have to give it back, that support, not because he's done it for me, but I do believe in him because I do believe in his vision. So, but if he wasn't like driven, if he wasn't someone who, you know, over delivers like for himself, I think we would have a lot more problems of like he said, if he was sitting idle or whenever he is like too much believe, I'm like, hey, that's cool, but we don't have 10 years to wait. So we need to make decisions now. And he's open to those conversations where it may not feel comfortable in the moment, but he's open to it. I just said a lot.
Well, we can tell why you guys are married.
21 years on Tuesday.
21 years
That's
on
insane.
Tuesday.
Wow, congrats.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All of them.
Whew.
We're
That's
grown.
beautiful. All right. So I think from there, we've done enough talking for today. We can leave it with our final thoughts. Paola, since you just said a mouthful, we'll start with the lovely couple below.
Go ahead. I'm always on this thing.
Well, we've spoken about roles and traditionally speaking, and also how you choose to apply them in your own relationship today. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one way or another. And it can definitely change as time goes by as well. And I think that's the most important thing to remember.
Well,
We'll be running for presidency in 2025. Team Eminem.
Eminem.
Oh, that's cute.
That's so cute. I love
build
that.
that wall. So on that note, guys, this has been the 100th episode of Mindset U.
Wait, what about Paola and Rancis?
She said so much. What else do you want her to say?
JJ
Well,
wants
Rancis
to go.
didn't really talk. All right, fine.
Paola, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No.
Jay, you can go.
I think you can say it all.
Guys, this has been another episode of Mindset U. When I say another episode, it's the 100th motherfucking episode. And I'm so happy that we got to do this all together. Ashley's here in spirit. She's downstairs. She doesn't like any of us, including me, and I'm married to her. That's because I ignored her all fucking morning today. She's punched me at least 3 times, once in the face. No, not really. She just put her little fist right to my face. She goes, "Ooh," and then I go, "Mwah," and then great.
Cute.
It's so cute. And then she walks away. But it's the 100th episode of Mindset. You guys, don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, anywhere else that you can find us. VidaProject.com. We love you guys. We hope to do 100 more episodes. And yeah, we'll see you soon.